Sherry, we've got another chicken fryer story for our audience. I know everyone loves our chicken fryer stories.
Chicken fryer?
Yeah, referring back to the time that I thought a crock pot was a chicken fryer.
Oh, you mean we have a crock pot story?
Oh, I guess that's
chicken fryer. There's no frying chicken in a crock pot.
I guess that's how you should properly address the story. Yeah. It's actually a crock pot story.
I'm a little confused.
I thought I was such a hero earlier this week. I walked through the kitchen. You were gone. You were at work. And I walked through the kitchen, and there was the shell of the crock pot or chicken fryer, the heating unit without the insert. And I remember that the night before you were prepping stuffed peppers, delicious, a family favorite. But the crock pot shell remained empty. And I thought, I bet that insert with the stuffed peppers is in the refrigerator somewhere. And I said, I'm going to text Sherry and I'm going to save dinner. I am the hero. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon.
It was earlier than that.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, I had an alarm set to text you or our college-aged son, young son, to see if he was home to put the crock pot insert into the crock pot.
Well, I didn't know about your supposed alarm, and I just assumed I was saving dinner.
Well, I learned not to leave notes. I leave a note and they get lost or unread, so I have to text.
Well, that's brilliant of you. But I texted first.
Yes.
And you said for me, yes, that would be great. Take it out and set it to warm. And I took set it to low. God, I can't even tell the story.
Can't even tell the fucking story right. Jeez, what did you step?
No wonder I messed it up so bad.
I said, set it on low.
Yeah.
At like 2:30, 3:00.
So 7:00 that night, I come out of my Zoom meeting and the stuffed peppers are in a glass Pyrex dish coming out of the oven. And I thought, my silly wife. I love her so much, but 2:30 was just too late in the afternoon to start this. She forgot to put them in the crock pot in the morning, and so she had to bake them off. And that's when you said, Matt, there is a difference on the crock pot between low and warm. And what we wanted in this case was low, not warm.
Yes.
And you said it just like that. Emotional safety. You were kind. You weren't sarcastic. You didn't shove it in my face. Well, I immediately went to my text messages.
And I said, don't bother. I know I typed low because I didn't even have to check because I knew that I would not have had. There are times I've asked you to turn something too low, like if I'm running late or I know dinner's going to be late.
Well, as it turns out, you were right. You did, in fact, ask for it to be low. I ate humble pie. I apologize. And we both had a nice laugh about it. Do you remember the laugh part? The good-naturedness about the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't mad. And I was just thankful that, it wasn't anything, it was catastrophic. It wasn't like it was meat.
Sherry, in the before times, whether it was when I was still actively drinking or when I was in early sobriety and we still had yet to find emotional safety in our relationship, you would have been frustrated. You would have been finding me unreliable because I can't follow a simple direction. And I would have accused you of forgetting altogether and been claiming that even though I screwed it up, I'm still the person that's in the right because you forgot to start the crock pot to begin with. It would have been an awful dinner. You wouldn't have eaten and I would have eaten it all because we have opposite. Like I overeat when I'm upset and you don't eat when you're upset. And we would have gone to bed and had no sleep. But instead, we had a delicious dinner with a crust that I might say I think is unachievable in a crock pot.
That's so
that
true.
little dinner time, that little time in the oven was a huge benefit.
Yeah, they were a little drier than they were meant to be.
They were delicious.
The crock pot seals in the moisture.
The crust was the best part.
Yeah.
Listeners, we would like to invite you to send us a question for our next segment in the Ask Laura series here on the Intoxicated podcast. Laura Hemmick is a licensed clinical social worker and mental health therapist. She works with adults, both individuals and couples, working through impacts of anxiety, depression, ADHD, addiction, obsessive compulsive disorder, something I'm very familiar with, bipolar disorder, trauma, and relationship issues. What?
I think if you were obsessive compulsive, you probably would have checked the text message, then went and checked the crock pot a few times between the time that you said it and then gone back. So maybe we wouldn't have had that incident had you been a little more obsessive, but
I'm getting
maybe
healthier. I'm getting better. Her first quarterly episode of the Ask Laura series was episode 322. And so we encourage you to listen to that, but we also encourage you to send us questions for Laura for this time around, where we'll be recording our next Ask Laura session in about a month, mid-February. So we would love to get questions that you might like to ask a therapist if only you had a relationship with a therapist, or maybe you want a second opinion about the therapist you have. I've heard there's good ones and some not so good ones out there. So maybe you want to gut check the answers you're getting. So please send your questions by email to matt@soberandunashamed.com with Ask Laura in the subject line. That's matt@soberandunashamed.com. Ask Laura. Sherry, I have come to realize that there is a blessing and a curse inherent in podcasting. It is a beautiful thing that you can learn and relate and grow while you're exercising or grocery shopping or driving or walking your dog.
Or walking your cat. I wish our cat would go on a walk. He's a bit fat.
Okay. Yeah, that's neither here nor there.
What you could do is you could teach the cat how to go on a leash while you listen to your podcast.
Well, whatever the thing is that you're doing while you're listening, you are being active and away from your computer, and that makes it hard for you to contribute to keeping the Intoxicated podcast alive and bringing guest interviews that you can't hear anywhere else, like today's awesome roundtable that we are about to bring you. Telling you how to donate through our website while you pound away on the treadmill is unrealistic. So let's make it easy. Whatever you're doing while you're listening, we know you've got your phone with you because, you're listening. So grab your phone and Venmo at Matt-Salas. The last 4 digits of my phone number are 1412. That Venmo is tied to our organization's nonprofit checking account. Any amount will do.
Well, I can tell you this. We just had our annual board meeting to approve our 2026 budget, and we are operating at a bit of a shortfall. I think it's about $71,000. And right now, you and I, Matt and I, are covering the shortfall, but we can't afford to keep going on like this forever.
So if you value what you hear, please help us keep bringing you the Intoxicated podcast twice a week with a fully tax-deductible Venmo donation to @Matt-Salas. That's @Matt-SALIS. Last 4 digits of the phone number, 1412. Thank you very much. Welcome, Kelly, Melanie, and Tess back to the Intoxicated podcast. Kelly and Tess have ended alcoholic relationships. Melanie's husband died when he fell and hit his head in an alcoholic binge. All 3 of our panelists have kids with their drinking husbands, so that was an important consideration in the alcoholic relationship. And also, now as single women who never expected to be dating again in midlife. But here you guys are, and you've learned a lot. And it is fascinating and certainly valuable information to our listeners who might be considering the should I stay or should I go question and want to weigh the 2026 dating scene into their decision. And it's also valuable for listeners who are currently back out there after an alcoholic relationship who might be horrified by the changes to the dating culture that they found out there in the dating world and wondering if anyone else feels the way they feel. So buckle up, buttercups, and get ready to resonate and relate if you meet any of those criteria. To start out with today, panelists, let's just start with you telling us how long ago your relationship ended, how long you've been back in the dating world, and maybe just one quick biggest surprise that you've experienced back in the dating world. Kelly, can we start with you?
Sure. Relationship ended about 18 months ago. Got into the online dating world about, oh gosh, that's a good question. 7-8 months ago. And actually, I think I have a different opinion from the other panelists, but we'll see. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It wasn't as horrible. I thought it would be something that would be great fodder for get-togethers with my girlfriends. And there were some of those moments, but it wasn't as bad as I thought.
That's really funny because I know you have some of the best stories out of this group. So even though you had some kind of hilarious and eye-opening experiences, overall it wasn't as bad as you thought. That is very interesting to learn. Melanie, can you go next?
Sure. Let's see. So Scott died about 2.5 years ago. And I've been in the online dating probably maybe 5 or 6 months then, I think. And I probably, I guess the biggest surprise for me is kind of the dichotomy between like people that are on there saying they're searching for their one, and then their actions of like, no, that looks like they're more searching for like the right now, not the one. So
Oh
and
yeah.
and lots of ghosting. That was kind of a weird, like, just because it's something that I haven't been in the dating world for what, 30 years. So it's a little bit
Now
different with
it
the online.
is the right now versus the one, is that code for they're looking for a hookup?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
They don't say that, but in the thing, but it kind of then you start to learn to read between the lines a little bit. But yeah.
Mm, understandable. Turns out I'm familiar with how men think, so I'm not terribly surprised. Maybe a little disappointed, but not surprised. Thanks, Melanie. Tess, how about you?
Hi. So we've been separated for about 14 months and filed for divorce about 9 months ago and attempted the online dating really kind of like what Kelly was saying as more of just like an entertainment, like an avenue of just to get a couple laughs. And accidentally kind of met someone nearby that just became a really good friend. And I didn't really go any farther in the online dating. So I don't have as much experience with the online dating, the app type situation, other than a very short-winded, like 2 months maybe, of just using it as a fun conversational piece, which was, good. Good
Well,
conversation.
thank you, Tess. We're going to get into online dating specifically, but before we do, we want to kind of talk about, on a broader sense, not just the apps, not just what it's like to be online. We'll get there, but just what's going on out there in the big bad world. One of the things I want to start with is gender differences. And I want to tell what I think is going to be a relatable story, but well, yeah, why don't we just go ahead and get right into that? Stark gender differences in dating that I think exist, and Melanie, you alluded to this a little bit. I recently heard a female comedian. I'd never seen her before. I don't know her name. I'd give attribution, but I don't know. I was just like scrolling Instagram and a comedian came up, which is what I asked for from Instagram. So it was delivering that night. She asked the couple in the audience in the front row what their biggest fears were because they had told her that they were on a first date. And the man said that his biggest fear on the first date would be like spilling something on himself. And while he was saying that, I was processing it myself. If I was on a first date, my biggest fear would be like peeing on myself in the bathroom or something. I mean, that would be
Like
my
having a
biggest
zipper
fear.
issue that makes
Doesn't happen often,
yourself.
but that would be my biggest fear, or even than spilling on myself. And then, so then the comedian looked at the woman and said to her, "Well, what's your biggest fear on a first date?" And she said, "Being raped or murdered." And that was the response I think the comedian was looking for. It really sets the stage for, while it's great that we have equal opportunity and equal treatment among the genders, and that must remain the goal, and it's very important. We also must understand that we come at some things with different filters and different experiences, and I think that's particularly evident in dating. So let me ask you, all three of you having been in long-term relationships, long-term marriages, what was your biggest fear re-entering the dating world? Melanie, can we start with you?
Sure. I think probably like missing the red flags. Like being fooled by like a nice guy persona and then getting so far along and that's not who, just like the fakeness or whatever. And so, we kind of got fooled before, right? Into a long-term relationship and things changed. So yeah, that was probably my biggest fear was, yeah, just missing something where should have caught that right away. But I think I got, and it kind of been, I also I had a little bit of a fear of like cutting off somebody too soon, like, you know, so it's like kind of that balance of
Mm,
it was trying to get to know somebody, not giving them too much of a chance, but also not being so rigid that like that you miss out on somebody that could be nice just because you had these like kind of strict rules that you were following kind of thing. So
yeah. Tess, as a long-term relationships comes to an end and you're potentially thinking about what's next, what things cause you anxiety? What fears stand out to you?
Well, I think kind of Melanie touched on it, is this sense that I don't know if I can trust myself, of what I'm seeing and what I'm receiving, because, that's a big part of my recovery just for myself in leaving a long-term alcoholic relationship, is that guilt that you carry for thinking, oh, I should have seen that and I should have done that differently, and I, should have, held them accountable and not enabled the behavior and all of those things. And it's like, if I did that one time, how do I know I'm not going to do that again? Because
Mm,
because I did very much love my husband. I never had any intention of that not working out. I always thought that just the harder you worked at it, eventually we would get it fixed and it would be okay. And that's just not how it worked. And so obviously going into like dating or potentially, looking forward. I mean, before we were separated, in my mind, if somebody asked me, would you ever want to be with somebody else? At that time, it was hell no. I can't even imagine looking at another man, let alone be in the same room or get naked with somebody. Like, no, that just is absolutely terrifying and disgusting and fuck no, sorry.
right.
Just
Well, that's
so like like so much of an aversion to that. And then so when you start to actually put yourself out there, and it takes a lot of guts. I was just terrified, and
well,
uh
Tess, you guys know me. I said for a long, long time, it's going to be me and the dogs, man. That's it. I'm not doing anything else.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get you. I hear you.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
and I mean, I mean, obviously Melanie didn't get the closure, right, from her previous relationship.
Hmm.
I'm still, having to co-parent with my ex, and there's no accountability, so we haven't really had what I would call closure, other than just the closure that I can give myself. You know what I mean? In kind of dealing and processing with that. And the more that I've been able to do that for myself, my I've been able to heal in a way that has kind of finally closed that um I guess the vulnerable part of myself to my ex enough to where I finally was like, okay, I don't feel like I'm getting hurt, directly from that anymore. I'm filling my cup in other ways, so I'm not this, empty cup walking around anymore. And so now it's like I feel healthy enough to where I can at least put myself out there. And I think that's kind of where I got eventually. Yeah.
yeah. Kelly, I saw a lot of head nodding while Melanie and
Yeah.
Tess answered. What's your response to that question about fears?
One that is a little bit, I wish I had some of your personality, Melanie, because my fear was that I'm a people pleaser. And I noticed that I couldn't, and in talking to someone who had been through the dating process, I was not very good at just saying, it was good to talk to you, and getting out of the conversation, just leaving. And because I don't want to hurt people's feelings, and because I feel uncomfortable when I, am not honest, or when I'm being honest, I feel uncomfortable about that. So that piece was hard. But then I also noticed, even in the process, and this was a fear beforehand and during the process, that which is opposite of the people pleasing, I had somewhat of a hard shell, meaning um I just, I think with everything that I had been through, I wasn't even soft, or didn't have that piece of warmth anymore, because I had felt so defensive. I had felt like angry. And to your point, Tess, don't have closure. Wasn't able to close the book on so many moments where I would love to go back through them to help him understand how that hurt me. And to this day, I'm still climbing out of all of it. So to have that baggage and go into dating and not kind of pull back a lot, or I have a story about with the gentleman I'm dating right now, this horribly awkward hug because I had a shell that is very difficult to break through. And so I knew that going in, and then to see it play out was funny. I've gotten so much better at that piece and getting through it, but you can't be in, like all of us, you can't be in a 20 plus relationship, have gone through what we went through, jump into the dating pool and just be ready for love. No, we have been through hell, and we are looking for someone who is not going to give us any more crap. Don't have time for that. Who's going to be honest, who's going to be safe, insanely safe. And so, of course, we're on guard and we're looking for red flags, and we have a hard shell because we have had to have one. So that was probably the biggest piece for me.
Those are three great answers. Let's talk about alcohol-specific fears. This is a substance that quite literally crushed your lives, all three of you. But if you limit possible mates exclusively to sober men, you are severely limiting the pool of potential candidates. How do you navigate that? Tess, I'm going to start with you because you are nodding the hardest.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a fear, like an ongoing fear. The person that I'm dating right now, he is not a 100% sober person. He's the person that on New Year's we all shared a glass of champagne with. But I guess I'm cautious, and he was well aware of the situation that I came from, and he's extremely respectful of that in a sense where he doesn't, drink around me, and he doesn't engage in those kind of things. He doesn't come around me when if he's going to be with other people that will be drinking, he will exclude himself from that type of thing. So it's kind of this respectful balance that we're currently navigating. But it's a thing that we talk about all the time. He is extremely aware. And because of that shell, I guess, Kelly talked about, I am extremely open and verbal about it. He knows that I will say exactly what's on my mind and share that with him. And he's extremely receptive to it because so far, from what I've experienced, he's an extremely safe person, kind of what Kelly said. I have never felt that I had to like walk on eggshells in regard to like that topic. It was just a very respected type of situation. And yeah, I don't know if I can answer your question because I've only talked to one person. So I haven't been out there looking through, a list of men and that kind of a thing. The 1 week that I was on like Facebook dating for shits and giggles, that was one of the boxes that I ticked that, no social drinking, no smoking, none of that kind of stuff. And that was impossible. There was nobody. So yeah. And I live in an extremely rural area. So the pool is even smaller. So yeah.
How did you handle that just decision right up front, Kelly? You're getting ready to make your dating profile and you're like, God, do I exclude it? Do I say moderate only? Like, are you looking for people whose profile mentions whiskey and just crossing them off? Like, how do you navigate it, Kelly?
Yeah, I think, so for me, I was told by another Echo sister that you can choose, and that there was one dating app where it was more specific. And so mine was just social drinking. I didn't go into this thinking that it had to be somebody who does not drink at all. But it was going to be somebody who sat down and listened to my entire story, and who understood where I came from. I have never had an issue with alcohol. I only drink socially. And I'm not out all the time at all. And don't seek to go out to drink, never drink when I'm at my home. And so those were things that I was describing to the gentleman I'm with now, but that was what I was looking for. And you could tell when you were on the apps, you could see whose pictures were lots of drinks in the hand. So I thought that was fascinating to me, that I was only wanting people who were socially drinking, but all the photos of you are, with drinks in hand. When I say socially drinking, I mean a glass of wine or a beer with dinner.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about getting wasted when you go out. I mean, and I knew I could navigate once I got into it, whether or not I trusted someone on that piece. The person that I'm dating now, we will occasionally have a glass of wine with dinner. It's fascinating to me. I've never known a man, and I come from the Midwest, who can have just one drink. I didn't know that was possible. I knew it was possible for me, but I didn't think men could do that. And so to see that with my own eyes, I was dumbfounded. But to Tess's point, like, it is part of the story. I needed someone safe. It had to be where I felt comfortable, but I didn't say I would only date people who were sober, because honestly, then you were getting a lot of people who were sober and had been through the struggle of addiction. And as much as I am so in awe of those people, I don't want to go there. I would be afraid and constantly scared. So I didn't want to go on that route either. So it's tricky as hell. I mean, it just was. But you had to figure out what you can handle. And then also, once you get down to brass tacks and you've met someone you like, making sure that they understand where you came from, or where you come from, and what your story was. And, making sure that that's someone who doesn't have an issue.
Yeah, I never really considered, like, if you were dating someone that, say they were, a recovering alcoholic, or however they want to frame it, is that in the back of your mind? There's always going to be that, well, what if the relapse happens on my watch? So I guess that's a good idea. Like, take that kind of out of your pool because of just that concern and worry and that anxiety that you would be experiencing.
You've already had that life experience.
Who needs that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's not fair. It's not fair to do that, but it's also my choice. At this point in my life, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I can't live in that fear.
Right.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Melanie, I want you to answer the question in a general way too, but would you react to that piece of it? The idea of someone in sobriety, and is that just too much to put yourself through because you've already been through so much?
Yeah, I did the same thing as Kelly. That was just, I couldn't do that. And and I kind of even like, if somebody said they were a moderate drinker, I'm like, no, you're not. And all the alcoholics say they're moderate drinkers too. So that was kind of like, nope, off. So yeah, I kind of did like, the social, and also looking at the pictures. I think that was a big way. Or if you said things like, I like wineries and brewery tours, and I'm into whiskeys and different, like if that was part of your like write up about yourself, if like you're like, if I'm going to tell about myself, I'm not going to have alcohol in the top. That's not going to make the list. And if it makes the list for you, then no. But the other thing is, yeah, like not people like use the words in different ways. The social drinker. Yeah, I go out and get smashed every weekend with my buddies. That's to them somebody that's social. So I guess my thing was more, if it got that far, just the observing red flags and green flags. I was on a date once where somebody left a beer on the table, that was like, whoa, wow, didn't know that could happen. So,
Yes.
so that was like, a red flag, or not a green flag in that case, so yeah, that's the kind of, or if it's like, listening to like, is it every day? Is this your everyday habit type of thing, where, because I think everyday habit can grow into a problem even if it's not right now. But I'm pretty confident that I know, and I'm in the Midwest too. People just, that's, drinking is just such a big part of the culture that you're going to cut out a huge portion if you say no drinking. But I think I'm pretty confident in being able to see a problem with drinking, and if I would have no compulsion about saying, okay, yep, not interested. So, but
I think those are really helpful, tangible tips. I mean, I know back when I was drinking, if we were in a group setting and we got up to leave a restaurant and there were people who left their drinks on the table, I would say, "Oh, I think I forgot my keys," and go back and finish everyone else's drink. Not only did I never leave a beer on the table. Yeah.
But you did.
Not
You
proud.
did it at our own home too.
Ugh.
People would leave their wine or their leftover beer and he would finish off as he was cleaning up. How disgusting. Also, just a testament to your frugality.
That's right. That's right.
But I think
we paid for those drinks.
Bought that damn thing. Or I didn't have to, so I'm just saving us money by drinking it. But I think Melanie brought up a good point too. I just think for like our listeners, like if you see, oh, I'm into whiskey or craft beers or wine, like that's just you identifying yourself as a future alcoholic. That's what I hear. Like red flag, future alcoholic. You're associating your identity with alcohol. Like pass.
That's the cockroach rule. You know, they say if you see one or two cockroaches, you've got thousands of them. If to your point, Kelly, if the profile pictures all show a drink in the hand, or Melanie, if they're mentioning their love of sipping craft whiskeys, like like that's if you see the cockroach, they're everywhere. So I think that's a really, really great filter. I love that. I want to know how open you have been about your past experiences. We've alluded to this a little bit, but Melanie, you specifically, when do you tell dates or potential people you're talking to that your husband died from an acute alcohol-induced fall in the midst of chronic alcoholism? I mean, this is as tragic a story as there is. How do you bring that in?
Pretty much just lay it out there. It's usually on the first, like if we're meeting up, you're hearing about it because it's part of my past. It's part of how you're going to understand who I am and where I'm coming from. So yeah, I'm pretty open about it. No secrets. And I mean, as far as how much detail do you want, I kind of got to go by, like, go a little bit slower, like on that maybe. But yeah, I lay it out there from the get-go. And if you can't handle that, you can't handle me. So I'm older than both Kelly and Tess. So I'm like, I don't have any time to waste. It's already a big enough waste of time on those apps. So if that's a problem for you, then move along. I'm okay with that. So.
Do you feel like you've had people move along? Like that seems too heavy, can't handle?
Not after no, I don't think so. I don't think that was a reason for people moving on. I mean, it's possible that I just didn't pick up on it, but no, I don't think that was really an issue. And you know, I haven't there haven't been that many dates, I guess, that were dates where I had some interest. So then that's the next kind of test. Like, does that scare him off? Okay, scares him off. That's it. But you know, I have to be at that point too where I'm interested, and it hasn't been that many. So where I had that much interest to find out, I guess, too. So.
Well, all I know is every time I shovel anything that's even remotely close to bullshit in your direction, you immediately pick up on it. So I think your instincts to whether someone's backing out for that reason or not are probably pretty accurate. You're pretty good in the instinct department. Tess, you mentioned that you live in a really small rural area. How open are you about your marriage experience? I mean, if there's only, a small number of people in the population, are you worried about, spreading rumors, getting your husband in trouble? You worried about it getting back?
It's a very small town. There's rumors constantly spreading all the time. There were rumors spreading about me with multiple men, apparently, all throughout the summer. None of them were true. I mean, I live in a town of 200 people. That's it. You know what I mean? We don't even have a stop sign in our town. Like, it is really small.
Wait. Not even a stop sign? Not a light?
The main road that goes through town, no stop sign. That's it.
Okay.
Just the main road, no stop sign.
All right.
So, I mean, rumors are just part of I guess the fabric of the community up here, unfortunately. And my husband has come up with his own that I've heard about, after they've gone through the grapevine somehow, they
Sure.
come back and find out about him. So, I know, what my truth is. I know that in my heart that I haven't done anything, wrong. The relationship that I have is the private side of it is staying private, but because we're a small community, we are in the same, friend group, essentially, like the extended friend group. And so when we have community events, everybody's there. Um, and yeah, it's definitely been a really interesting thing to navigate. When I first filed paperwork against my husband and was thinking about going out there, I had no intention of getting in a relationship. This is going to sound super crass and maybe everybody's going to, judge me wrong. I just wanted to get laid. I just that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I didn't want a relationship. I just wanted to go have fun. I had no intention of falling for someone or feeling safe with any, like in that way whatsoever. And that obviously wasn't the plan. So, did not expect that whatsoever. And so, this particular person that I'm in a relationship with, when it started to feel like things were going that direction, which I was extremely guarded about, and it took time. It took like 3 months before I was willing to kind of even admit to myself that this was what was happening. Um, I just had to constantly explain to him, and again, kind of like what Kelly said, this is my story. It's up front. We talk about this all the time, and you need to be patient. You know what I mean? Like this is my timeline that I'm on, and if you want to ride this train, it's at my pace. And so this is how it's going. And I've never been treated more respectful by a person, and I think that was one of the biggest things that made me feel so safe by accepting that and kind of saying, okay, maybe this does mean something, yeah.
That's great. I love that you owned, to use Melanie's term, that you were looking for the now, not the forever.
I was.
That's and had to ease into the forever. How quickly, Kelly, did you say, hey, here's what I've been through? How do you feel about that?
First date, because the question of your divorce, what happened, is going to come up. It should come up on any first date. So I got into the weeds right away, and I would do it all over again because, as Tess was saying, as Melanie was saying, that's me. That's what I've been through. If you can't handle that, perfect. Let me know on this first date. If that's too much for you, then clearly emotionally we will never work. So yeah, that came up right away.
One thing that's been really interesting to me when we first started having these conversations, and I was learning so much from all three of you, I guess if I was in midlife re-entering the dating market, my naive little brain would have thought that a divorce, already having kids, maybe these are red flags or orange flags. Maybe these are things I want to be leery of. But after talking with you guys, aren't kids in a previous marriage an indication of someone who's got experience adulting? A 45-year-old single person who's never been in a serious relationship, that's the red flag, isn't it? Kelly?
Yes, that's 1000% the red flag. And in fact, I got to the point where you needed to be divorced and have kids for me to date you. I was talking with someone who was in his 40s, no kids, no marriage, late 40s. And the messages to me were like books. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, this person is very much into himself. And I don't know that I can relate to somebody that doesn't understand the sacrifice involved with kids, or somebody that is at this point in their life and has not been, if you were in a committed relationship, I should take that back. You don't have to be married, but you needed to have been in a long-term committed relationship to understand what goes into that. And also, to me, and this may not sound kind, but if you're that age and you haven't been in a long-term relationship or you haven't been married, what is the reason for that? Are you, Peter Pan? Are you just somebody who doesn't ever want that long-term commitment? And all of this being said, I don't know how I feel about marriage moving forward, but I did want somebody who had those pieces that was critical to me.
Was that important to you too, Melanie? Or Tess, were you starting to answer?
I was just gonna say that I just turned 40, and there are still people in my pool of age group in the beginning that had never had kids that still wanted to have children. And I am definitely not wanting to have children anymore. And so that was like a big thing of like, oh, you're 42 and you don't have kids. Oh, they want kids. That is not who I need to be dating whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Melanie, I'm sure that was high on your list, wanting more kids, right?
Yeah, no. In fact, that was one of a red flag. If I saw a man who was like 55 and they're like kids, oh, I'd consider it. What the fuck are you talking about? You're like grandpa age. Quit it. So yeah, I don't know what the heck that was all about. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? So so yeah, but yeah, I did see somebody who had been married but did not have kids, and it was just kind of like you just, like Kelly said, you don't know the sacrifice of kids and the continued, because I mean, I have a daughter with special needs. She's always going to be probably, a part, there's going to be a part of her, in my life forever. So you have to be able to understand that. And I think that somebody who kind of like just like, Peter Pan, like, or never had to grow up, or just thought of themselves, and that they're a me person, they're just not going to get that. So yeah, it's definitely married and kids in the past, divorced, whatever, is just kind of, life at this age. So
What's so interesting about this to me is knowing the male mind like I do. I'm sure there are thousands, maybe millions of guys on these dating sites that have done that. They've made it to 50 without any serious long-term relationships or kids that they know of. And they think they're the diamond in the rough, right? They think they're the prize. And no wonder there is such a just inability to connect the dots between men and women, typically, if we think of things so dramatically differently. That's really interesting. We're going to talk about our sponsors. When we come back from that, we're going to ask all three of you to react to a survey that we recently conducted about what people find attractive. But first, we're going to tell you that we are sponsored by SoberLink. SoberLink is the premier alcohol monitoring system, combining cutting-edge technology with compassionate design to support accountability in recovery and family law. It is nearly impossible to consider bringing anyone new into your life until you're confident about the safety of your kids. Kids have to come first. So if you're listening to a podcast about dating after an alcoholic relationship, it is highly likely that the safety of your kids when with their parent who was drinking abusively is a huge concern. You have to feel confident that your kids are not exposed to alcoholism while they're in your co-parent's care, or you can't work or sleep or exist, much less consider a new partnership. That's where SoberLink comes in. SoberLink is not just a handheld breathalyzer you can buy at the drugstore or on the internet. SoberLink's best-in-class service and product combination includes built-in facial recognition and tamper detection, expert in-house support, email daily, weekly, or monthly reporting that's court admissible in all 50 states and Canada, unlimited testing days, and scheduled testing to build accountability and trust. SoberLink is peace of mind in co-parenting situations.
Let me tell you what SoberLink would be to me. It's a sign that you're serious this time, that you hear me when I tell you I can't trust you, that you're willing to put your ego aside for a second and do something for your kids. SoberLink is an indication that you want to keep your kids safe. SoberLink is an indication that you're serious about your sobriety, and you're not just telling me and the lawyers what you think we want to hear.
Right now, SoberLink is offering Intoxicated podcast listeners a free offer ID valid for a $100 enrollment bonus. Go to soberlink.com/untoxicated.
Claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus. There's no commitment required to claim your offer ID while this promotion lasts, and you can use your $100 enrollment bonus when you're ready to place your order. To claim your offer ID, you will only be asked to provide your name and email address. No personal data, no commitment, no credit card number. To claim your offer ID for your $100 enrollment bonus, please go to soberlink.com/untoxicated.
We are supported by Echoes of Recovery. Kelly, Melanie, and Tess are all active participants in Echoes of Recovery. Kelly, we talk a lot about belonging in Echoes. Belonging is not just receiving support, but giving support as well. You went through some dark times, and now you are experiencing peace and joy. Please tell us how you felt that sense of belonging in Echoes, both in the darkness and in light.
Essentially being able to ask questions of women who had been through it, who could tell me, you're not crazy. That was priceless. And then I see women going through it now, and I always offer them the pieces that were so critical to me, and helping them and paying it forward is important.
Yeah, thank you. Melanie, you went from processing massive and traumatic grief to talking about dating and being open to a new partner. How important was the feedback and interaction of others in Echoes to free you up to move through all the stages of recovery and discovery?
Well, it was really important because I didn't have a current or past partner to like kind of process stuff with. It was just getting thrown out into it. And so it was really invaluable to kind of bounce. Yeah, like Kelly said, to find out you're not the only one, you're not crazy. This is happening to others. It's not you. So yeah, just that feedback and processing was really invaluable to help me to come along and heal.
Makes so much sense. Tess, you just shared with us in the group a bold vision of how you're planning to show up in your family, in your community, and to anyone with whom you interact. The confidence just exploded from your recent writing. How did Echoes help you work on your confidence?
I think before I found Echoes, I was carrying around a lot of guilt and shame from my alcoholic husband and his behavior, but this guilt that I had chosen to be part of that and continue to be part of it for a really long time. And by coming to Echoes, like the others have said, and finding out that I wasn't alone, and that it wasn't my fault, and that it wasn't my job to carry all of that alone, was huge in just kind of breaking free of that guilt that was really weighing me down. And I'm so grateful for it.
All right, so right now, for the first time ever, we're offering a free trial month for anyone who enrolls in SHOUT Sobriety or Echoes of Recovery in January. That's right, the first month is free.
If you decide Echoes of Recovery or SHOUT Sobriety is not a solution for you, you can leave the group in the first month with absolutely no financial impact to you. There's never any contract or long-term financial obligation. And now, for the first time, you can try our programs for free. If your drinking was causing issues, please get started at shoutsobriety.org.
And to see if you belong in Echoes of Recovery, please go to echoesofrecovery.org and take our brief introductory survey. It won't take you but a minute to see if we might be a fit for each other. And bonus, you'll get to hang out with Kelly, Melanie, and Tess.
That's echoesofrecovery.org and shoutsobriety.org. All right, ladies, we're going to have you react to our recent survey of 127 adults about attraction. The survey was conducted specifically because of claims that I hear a lot, that women are still looking for men to signal financial resources in order for them to be attractive. We asked participants to choose from 8 characteristics and to give us their top 3 characteristics out of that 8. Listeners, you can see the full details of the survey at stigmasurvey.org. Go there to read the full results. But I'm going to highlight some big ones and then ask you guys to react. 82% of women found having similar values and desires with a potential mate to be attractive, while 80% found kindness to be attractive. The only other characteristic chosen by a majority of women was a sense of humor that came in at 59%. In our survey of 127 people, I don't have the data in front of me, but about 2/3 were women. Only 9% were looking for financial resources, and only 32% of women prioritized physical attractiveness. Can you react to those results? Let's start with you, Melanie, because you're already laughing.
gonna say, okay, well, I gotta admit that I'm probably part of the 30% that do want physical attraction too. So, sorry.
Well, it had to be somebody.
Yeah.
It's 1/3. You can be
No
1/3.
ogres, please.
Okay, yeah, and I did take the survey, so I was probably was part of that 30%. Anyway, but no, that was not like, but like the kindness and the character things and the shared values, those are also really big. It's just that, yeah, I want to be turned on too. So, um, um, sorry. But
No,
yeah,
that's
so
great.
I guess, yeah, those are, I think they make sense. I can see why those are, financial. Yeah, I don't need anybody to take care of me. That's not what I'm looking for. But somebody that you can, um, have fun with. So yeah, sense of humor was probably one of mine too, and the shared values. So I guess I agree with those because those are probably the ones that I chose too. So
That's great. Tess, how about you? 82% similar values and desires, and 80% kindness. Does it surprise you those are at the top of the list?
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, no, those mutual values in like your own like value system. And if you've never done some like inside look on yourself to find out what your values are, I would highly recommend that if you're going to go out into the dating world, you should probably figure that out. That's an important kind of, internal gauge on yourself. Yeah, super important. But as to what Melanie was saying, I don't want anybody to take care of me financially, but I sure as hell don't want to take care of somebody else. And I've been doing that
Yeah.
way too fucking long. So that that does, that's definitely on my radar.
Ooh, that makes sense. Kelly, how about you? What's your reaction to those results?
I think that one of the biggest turnoffs is a really, really attractive guy who's a dick. So I
I didn't put the questions right, did I? God.
Well, so I mean, to me, attraction when you're 16, we all know what that is. That's completely physical. When you are my age, all the things that go into the bucket of that, there are so many more. And they are those things that you talked about: kindness, shared values, for us, safety. I have to feel like you hear me. And if all those things come into place, that's such a key component of attraction. Physical. But yeah, the results don't surprise me at all, especially for women. I know what we absolutely need substance.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about men and how they answered the survey. And I want you guys to kind of pull from your experiences on the dating apps. Men also found similar values and desires to be at the top of their list, in a tie with sense of humor. Both of those won. 71% of the men surveyed and considered those important. But physical attractiveness was in the top 3 attributes for 63% of men. So basically 31 points higher than women, basically double the number of women who found that to be a priority. Based on how men present themselves on the dating apps, does that surprise you that they are prioritizing that to that degree? Tess?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had this conversation before. There are dating profiles out there that are saying specifically, I want a woman between this age and this age. They have to be this high, tall, not too tall. They need to be, they need to work out. They need to prioritize fitness, all of those kind of things. So no, that does not surprise me whatsoever.
Melanie?
yeah, there's definitely profiles that pretty much they say the same thing. Yeah, prioritize fitness, and there's different ways they put things so they're not kind of being crass about it, but they're still being crass about it. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But like I said, like Kelly said, I don't want it. Looks alone is not enough. That's for sure too. So, but yeah, and there's a lot more that goes into attractiveness, I think, but not for men. they're really talking just attractiveness, I think, when they're looking.
Yeah. Is that your read on the situation, Kelly?
Yeah, I think they're going to start with that, and then hopefully most men will go, if I'm attracted to her, then I'll dive into those other important pieces. But I also think that women understand that, And it's interesting to note that, you know, even in some of the dating stories with the guy that I'm involved with, he said there were many times he would sit down with a girl and she did not look at all like her photos, or she had used older photos. So it seems women get that. And also we all want to put our best foot forward, but I think you also have to be authentic, and, you know, show yourself for who you are. And that attraction piece doesn't surprise me. That's important for men. But I think authenticity as well.
Yeah. Oh, that makes so much sense. In preparation for this conversation, I listened to a Freakonomics podcast episode titled What You Don't Know About Online Dating. A woman named Allie Reed put up a fake profile with a supermodel's picture that she had gotten permission to use, and then just a horrid description. She said that on Friday nights, what she considers fun is to knock cups out of the hands of homeless people. She put in her profile that her goal is to keep America American. That was her nod to racism. She said that she has a fake 14-year-old's online profile on Facebook so that she can bully her sister's friends. She got almost 1,000 messages in a short time, and that's 4 times what this Allie person got on her real profile.
Just because
of the supermodel picture, despite all the just horrible attributes about her as a human.
Does that just make you feel bad for being male? Like,
I feel that way a lot.
I know.
I'm not gonna lie. She said when she would get messages from men, sometimes she would just pound the keyboard with her forearms and then hit reply and would still get a response back. All right, so when can we meet? So
then she'd type, "You fucking dumbass." Like, that is gibberish. It's a lie.
With what you guys have been through, Kelly, I want to start with you on this. I feel like men versus women, or women versus men, I should say, are trying to do some discernment through the communication pre-dating. Like, hey, let's message each other back and forth and see if we've got anything in common. Whereas men are just like, hey, man, if you'll sit across from me in any setting, I'll take it. What's your reaction to that, Kelly?
It doesn't surprise me at all, but doesn't that go back to the basics of the makeup and differences of the gender? And I'm not excusing it, but I mean, certainly men are going to, or it seems like they have in that instance, reacted physically only. I think that is the difference between the genders in some respect. And I don't mean to generalize, but that doesn't surprise me one bit. And again, hopefully that the men who wanted to meet her on a date would have, after sitting down with her and hearing how awful she is, walked away, though I think many of them might have hung around for a little bit before they did that. So no.
You mean they try to get the right now and not the forever?
Exactly.
Yeah. Try to get the hookup. Yeah. Melanie, I've heard men complain that they have to swipe right 100 times to get a cup of coffee. Now, am I saying that right? Right is good, right? Left is bad?
Swipe right is good. Yes. To keep them.
Okay. So I've heard men say they've had to swipe right 100 times to get a cup of coffee. Do you think that's because they're just not trying hard enough to signal emotional safety or physical safety and just swipe. I don't care. Like when you're considering someone and their profile, are you looking for that emotional safety piece, or are you just looking at the picture and whatever? Melanie?
The pictures, I look at the picture, but I'm looking at it. Hello? Can you hear me? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
I'm talking, but I don't know if you're hearing me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yeah. So, yep, I can hear you now. I'm looking at substance. I'm looking at there was guys that didn't even fill out more than like 2 words on each like category of like, or questions. They're just like, if you can't like enunciate words at all, I'm probably not gonna meet you. So yeah, and you can tell like the people that are just swiping right on everything, because you might like reply back and then you don't hear from them for like days, and then it's like, well, why did you like swipe right on me at all, unless it's just a numbers game, which maybe that's what it is, to them. But it takes a little bit more than that. You have to engage with people. At least that's, I mean, for me, I'm not going to just meet you just because you said okay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that numbers game is probably a sense of security that they have, like stockpiling their options, so they're not as discerning
that could be,
when
but yeah,
they're
that's just
choosing.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it to me.
Tess, when you decided you were ready to kind of re-enter the dating world, did you have reluctance about using an online platform, like period, or have we just come along to the point where that's your option, like online platform or nothing?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the accepted first step, is just to do that. My girlfriend insisted that I do the 1 week free on the millionaire dating app, which I did, which was a fun 1 week to see if there was any millionaires out there that matched up with me. They did not. Um, but with like the more local dating app, again, short period of time that I was on there, because I'm in such a rural area and I have other friends that are also single, moms. One of the biggest issues is, I don't know if it's just because gas is so expensive in California, but a lot of guys don't want to drive that far, even for a hookup, apparently. So, like, as soon as they found out how far away, no response, nothing like that. And for people that live in my area, in my community, if you have to drive an hour and a half one way to go get groceries, that's pretty normal. And so that's not like a crazy thing. To think that would be like a distance. That's not a long distance, I guess, in our perspective. That is for the majority of everybody else, I think, though. So that was kind of a weird thing to kind of understand. That's like, oh, these people, not only is there nobody in my pool up here, but the people who are willing to actually have that type of a distance was really kind of limiting the pool.
Okay.
In general as well.
You brought up something really interesting. So there are these big population sites, Match.com, for instance, right? And then there are niche sites like Fish in the Boat or something like that. That's for you, Ambassador OG Nikki. I think that's where you met your husband, something like that, or Farmers Only or J-Date or whatever. Are you saying there's a regional one for you, or did you just set regional preferences within a bigger site?
Set regional preferences, yeah. But the millionaire one was, if we're willing to fly to see each other on your dime, totally. That was
all right.
Check.
On Farmers Only, do you have to be willing to drive your tractor to see each other or something like that? Did any of you give thought to big national or international site versus niche, something that I am is particularly important to me, or some area of interest to me? Kelly, did you think about that at all?
No, I did not. And I took the suggestion of, I think I mentioned another Echo's sister of one that she said was very female forward. She felt safe on it, but it is a national one. But gosh, Tess, why didn't I see this millionaire one? I should have spun the wheel there.
Well, and you could definitely tell right away which of the guys' profiles on there were not actual millionaires. They, like how you said that a lot of that your guy was like, well, I don't know if they're going to look the way they looked in their photo. Well, you saw some of these and it was like, that is definitely not a millionaire. Like, I'm not falling for that.
Right. I joke because honestly, I don't care about the money piece, but
Right.
It would have been funny to see what that site was about, because it is kind of like, to your point, Matt, very particular. But no, I didn't go on the like runners only dating because I don't want, no.
Well,
How
yeah, and we
about
talked about earlier just how specific certain guys are about what they look like. The millionaire dating app, they were all in their 50s. They all wanted someone between 20 and 30, and they had to be a
oh,
certain weight.
Oh,
Oh,
gross.
it was just ew.
Gross.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
yeah,
Posing on their
that's
yachts with their cigars and their, all the, ugh,
Yeah.
ugh.
Hmm.
not at all surprising. Melanie, did you go on like axe sharpeners only or something like that?
No, I did not. I didn't do any of the, and I think that because I think some of them are big lies, though. Like the Christian Mingle one. I mean, I know people that went on there for their wives, but then got caught on Craigslist soliciting prostitutes. So yeah, I just think it's all a big lie. So
Well, prostitution is prevalent in the Bible. Maybe that's the angle they were taking. Who knows? Okay. When talking about physical appearance, Kelly, is it an immediate swipe left for you if somebody has clothing missing in their profile picture?
1000%. If your shirt is not on, you're out. Also, if you take a photo of yourself pointed at your bathroom mirror, you're out. Also, if your photo is fuzzy and I can't see your face, you are out. And I love dogs, but if your first photo is of your dog, you're out.
I don't like the fish
okay.
one either, okay? Like if they're
Fish
holding
is-
a big
yeah.
fish in the photo and
Yeah.
it's that.
Yes.
So that's an
fish.
indication that the best picture you have of yourself is out on the boat drinking with your boys, and no wonder you're single. Is that kind of what you're saying there? No big fish photos.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So I know a lot of you are just listening only, but in our screen there are 3 photos of Kelly, Melanie, and Tess, and all of you were like, yes. As soon as Kelly was saying like, oh, clothing item missing, Tess is like got her hand going, yes, swiping and swiping, like, and just nodding heads. That was pretty fun to watch. Wonder
Well,
if we did this with like guys that we know,
Maybe we
like how
should.
different this conversation would be.
I
it
have
would
to
be
say-
because
Please
with
do
the
that.
fish picture, I had a guy. There was a guy who was like, and here's my obligatory fish picture. I'm like, obligatory? Who told you this?
in case I haven't turned you off with anything else so far, here's my fish picture, so you'll swipe me left. Oh, I have to tell you, the reason we're having this conversation.
Shirtless boat fishing story,
Yeah.
picture.
Oh, yeah. Do any of
Yeah.
the fish pictures have their shirts off?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yep.
So then fish juices dripping down their arm onto their chest. Ugh.
I think my favorite of these little discernment pieces about the picture is the selfie in the bathroom mirror. Like, that's the best. You can't get anyone. You don't have a picture of you and your mom on Mother's Day or anything. Like,
I also
you got
had
nothing.
like this weird
Right.
aversion to where every picture they had sunglasses on. Like I want to see your eyes, and every photo was like with sunglasses
Yeah.
on. It's like, you can't even really see your face. Like no,
Mm. Mm-mm.
No.
Oh,
that was the more
that's
subtle thing, but
Yeah.
That's actually, on a serious note, hugely triggering to me because when I was still drinking, anytime there was a family vacation or a family get together or whatever, and there's a picture of 15 or 18 or 12 or 6 or 9 people, I was always the only one with my sunglasses on because I had
In
too
the
many
shadows.
beers to think to take them off.
Mhm.
And so, whenever I look at those pictures, it gives me a
Yeah.
chill.
Well, that's how I feel too. And a lot of
I
our
bet you feel
we
even
used to have like a
stronger.
family reunion picture, and there would be Matt like with his sunglasses on in the middle of the pack, and I'm like, ugh, 'cause you were so drunk.
Gosh, I feel like this conversation is a huge, like you are saving the women that follow you hours and hours and hours, and men who are listening that might be entering the dating world. You're giving them a chance, man. You're giving them a
Step it up.
prayer. Keep your
Men,
shirt on.
step it
No
up.
fish, no bathroom mirrors.
Sorry, we like dogs, but don't make it just a profile picture of a dog.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Anything else that stands out for things that you see in the online world that just shocks you? You can't believe that they're actually putting that forward.
You want to
Melanie
hear
is like,
you want to hear my best? Like, okay. So this is I see once you get in there and you do the chat, that's where I guess because I would give a person a chance, even if they did take their selfie in the bathroom mirror. If they're like, okay, well, let's see if he's can hold a conversation. So this one guy I'm chatting with, okay. Well, there's several. Like what you get the good morning, beautiful. It's like okay, yeah, that's a little bit cheesy. And then like 2 questions in, do you like the French kiss? Okay, I'm not going to waste my time with you anymore.
Oh
But my
no.
yes,
Ew.
yeah. And then, but my absolute favorite, I asked a guy, and I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget because I went back and looked in it. I asked him what he did for a living, and he said, I'm a model for ladies' self-pleasure toys. I mold myself in latex and clay.
What?
Oh no.
Oh,
So
why?
he's the penis.
Yes. I'm like,
That's a lie.
He's
He's lying.
oh, of
Yeah.
course
Yeah.
he's lying. Oh, course. And even if, oh my God, I was just
Yeah.
like, why would you say this? I just,
Doesn't
yeah,
matter if he's lying or
just
not.
like,
I mean, isn't that a
no,
left? Whether even if it's the truth, it's probably a harder left, isn't it?
Yeah.
right? It's
harder.
just
No pun
not good.
intended.
I mean, why would you say that at all? So yeah, that was my very favorite. What do you do for a living? Return on. Yeah.
Oh,
Have others of you have Tess or Kelly? Have you gotten the what did you say? Good morning, gorgeous. Have you gotten the oh that just makes my skin kind of crawl? And
Yeah.
I'm a
And that was
dude.
like,
Good
that
morning,
was like,
beautiful. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah. And like,
Yeah.
that's like not like, because then you can like message people without being like liked or yet, you know what I mean? You can send them the message, and that was like the first contact was that.
First
Like,
contact.
yeah,
Oh,
no
And then
right.
thanks.
I had one person who at first seemed like we could actually hold a conversation, and then they immediately wanted to do like video calls, and I didn't agree
Mm.
to it, but they just started like sending it, and I was like,
No, no, no,
no,
no.
no, 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 no,
No.
no. I do not.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Uh-uh.
Oh,
Gross.
Yeah, it's one thing to agree to that, but yeah, just to get, yeah. Mm.
not
bombarded with
good.
video call requests. Ugh.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you guys are saving a lot of people a lot of time with these stories. I know there's a lot of creepy, crawly, cringy things out there in the big bad dating world, but you've also found some success. Kelly, can you talk a little bit about, despite all these great stories you have to tell, you have found somebody with whom you have mutual interest. How many kind of DMs does it take to get to that first date, to get to something promising? Sherry and I, and you guys prior to this last year, come from a world pre-online dating. Like, you meet somebody somewhere and you start talking. How does the process work in the online world as far as how much communication stays online, and then what's the first date like? Can you talk us through the process a little bit when it is moving in the successful direction?
Sure. And I think one of the pieces here is I don't know if anybody else follows. She's an influencer and she was a housewife. Bethany Frankel is dating, and this is someone who talks a lot and is actually starting up her own dating. Uh, but I was following her at this time, and it was fascinating to me. She was talking about how men just want a pen pal. And that was ringing true to me that you would match and then they would talk back and forth and you would keep going and keep going. And at one point, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, ask me out. Like, what? I'm not your check in every day. And I think that was the piece that was very refreshing with the gentleman I'm dating now. And his outreach to me was, I really enjoyed your profile. I would or I would love to chat with you if you're open to that. Like this gentleman approach, not hey gorgeous, or that's not okay. And also talking a little bit and being like, listen, do you want to go out and get coffee? Like, yes, go and ask to meet. It certainly let me get enough that I need from you in the chat. And I think some women do. They want to feel out. And certainly I could have said to him, actually, I just want to talk a little bit more and then I'll decide if I want to go out with you. But so many men are just not pulling the trigger. They don't know how to ask you out. They don't know how to stop texting and chatting and telling you all about their life. And are they ever going to pull the trigger and act like a man? And that's the other thing I needed is like, I'm not going to ask you out. I still appreciate those traditional roles. So that's another piece that I appreciated with him, is asking me out right away and not waiting. But from there, simply as you would guess, however, when we had our first date, He was one of the first that I talked to. So he, I think felt guilty about going out with me. And he said, I want you to go into the apps more and experience that more. And if you'd like a second date with me, come, certainly I'm here. But it was very sweet, I thought. So just finding that peace and that flow. And I think Melanie can speak to the fact that sometimes after that first date or second date, it does not go well. So I don't have that experience.
Well, I'm going to ask Melanie about that in just a second. But first, I want to come back to what you said about the pen pal piece. I find that fascinating. It's widely known that we men, if we follow a path traditional like Sherry and I and what all of you experienced, we leave our mother, which is our only emotionally safe connection, and then we get a wife, and that's the only person that we talk to about real things for our adult life. And then if you're back out in the dating world and you're single, do you think that's what was happening, Kelly? You've got a bunch of these men who just go and tease and prod and pick on each other in work and social settings, have nobody who's safe emotionally, and then they turn to the apps for an emotional connection?
1000%. And in my case, you are finding men who they are financially stable. They have kids, they have the house, they have the life. They don't want necessarily a wife, but to your point, they need that emotional piece. And so they're going to get that from you. And speaking of the gentleman that I was talking back and forth with, who was sending me these long litanies about himself, I'm like, are you just wanting to talk about yourself? I feel like men, and I don't mean to generalize, but I feel like in my experience in the dating world, there were a lot that were looking for an emotional crutch, a pen pal. So yeah.
An emotional support puppy. They needed an emotional support dog.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It makes sense for what we know about, male to male friendship interactions. There's no depth there. And so where do you find that? I totally get it. Melanie, tell us about some of the experiences Kelly alluded to that were the first dates and the dating aspect off the apps maybe didn't go so great.
Well, yeah, I had a couple of those. I got real good at saying no thanks to a second date. But there was one time where I did say yes to a second date, but the text messages in between the first and second date were really starting to be worrisome. And I'm like, well, I'll just go and I'll, maybe, because nuance in text or whatever, sometimes it doesn't come through right. So I did meet him for a second date, but this man wanted a commitment basically on a second date. And it was a little bit scary. And even then, so I, ended the second date, went home and pretty much texted him, said, this is just not working for me. And he did not accept that he
oh,
wrote me back.
That's scary.
Yeah. It was kind of why, and I want to know more. And just, basically trying to change my mind or tell me that I was wrong and how I was looking at things and how I was reading it. And it was very I mean, I didn't want to be mean, but I'm not a pushover, and but you just okay, I'll try to explain this to you a little bit better. But at the end, I was just this is just not working for me, and you're not going to convince me that I didn't feel what I felt or hear what I heard, and that's enough. So
and block, and then you
yes, yes, goodbye,
basically. So yeah, so it was a little bit, yeah, that was a kind of a scary one. But and there's been other times where meet for coffee, and it just was there was just nothing there, and that's kind of the easy ones where it's just yeah, you're just kind of a dud. So nice to meet you, but I got really good at that, so I'm okay with that. But
yeah. We talked about the fact that there are these niche specific dating sites. It sounds like that one guy that wouldn't take no for an answer needs to try manipulatorsonly.com, and maybe he can find a match there. Before we go, any last tips? You know what? I wanted to follow up on something you said really early, Kelly. you talked about with the gentleman that you're finding some success with, that it was like, because of your hard shell, the hug was hard at the beginning. Can you tell that story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was after I had been messaging him asking for advice on the app, saying, how do I get out of these conversations? And after we had that first date? And his response to me at that point was, you can do this, this, and this, and you can also go out with me on a second date, which I thought was very sweet. So anyway, on our second date, he was kind of like at the end of the date, came up and gave me a hug. And I was just like, I was so awkward. I don't even know who I was. And I think I had to explain to him later. I'm like, I didn't know you had to like break through that physical piece shell, like someone else hugging you, touching you. And for many of us, we had been in relationships where the physical piece had been gone. So it was so bad. And we laugh about it now. It was so awful and awkward. I remember walking away going, what did you just do? That was so bad. And I asked him about it later, and he was like, yeah, I kind of thought I wasn't sure. And I said, yeah, that was all me. That was all me. So, something that wouldn't have happened maybe when I was 20, but when you go through everything that we've gone through, again, hard shell.
Well, I was going to say
I didn't have that with the one that I've, found success with. So it was, different for me. So
didn't have that because you were open to the affection?
Yes. And I think I kind of found that it was like, riding a bike, you fell off, but getting right back on was okay.
So wait, Melanie, you're dating somebody now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Know that either.
I did not know this. Yay! Yep. Oh my God. I'm so happy. Yep. Okay, we can talk offline.
Yep. I met a farmer, but not on Farmers Only. So
yay! Oh my God. Happiness.
Oh, the best farmers are the ones that are open to any person, no matter where they're from. I like those farmers.
I want to add something. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay. So the person that I'm seeing, we met it's more traditional. It was not an online thing. So that still exists. That's still a possibility out there. I just want to make sure that people know that. We met like at a friend's birthday party. And then because it's a town of 200 people, he knew that I was in the middle of a divorce. And we kind of got connected and talking about like co-parenting issues. It was just like a friend conversation. He had been through a bad separation and was dealing with co-parenting issues, and we became friends, and we were just kind of leaning on each other in that regard. Ended up having a work opportunity to work together on a project. So we were spending more time with each other working on this project. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, like, is there something else going on here? Like in a more natural kind of sense. And the first time he leaned for a kiss was so awkward, Kelly, because again, you just have this shell and my teeth hit his face, and it was just the worst possible fucking thing.
So glad you experienced that too.
Oh my God,
I'm so glad.
So bad, and we laughed about it, and then it was this, and then it took a minute before we like attempted that again, and then it was like getting back on getting back on a bike. But, oh my gosh, that initial was just shocking to like the physical being was just like, what is going on? Yeah, so,
it rejects anybody. It's like no, it bounces off.
What is going on?
Tess, you live in a rural town of 200. You went from just having a friendship and kind of a co-working experience to it developing into something more. What are you doing on the Untoxicated podcast? You sound like you're living a Hallmark movie right now.
Hallmark.
Okay, I think that's funny that you say that, because I have a lot of friends that call me that I'm their Hallmark character, because we do live in a small town, and I put on the Christmas program and like the tree lighting event in the community. And at the tree lighting event, one of the ladies that runs the Christmas caroling didn't show up, so I had to go on the stage and run the Christmas caroling. And she kept messaging me. She's like, "Is this the next episode on the stupid Hallmark Christmas movie? Like, what the hell is going on?"
Well, don't be surprised if next December, if nothing works out with Hallmark, if you find that Melanie and Kelly and Matt and Sherry show up in your little town with our little iPhone cameras ready to film you from all possible angles. We'll make a little home movie out of all of this. Ladies, thank you so much. I really think the benefit of this conversation, not only some good belly laughs amongst friends, but I really think that you've helped people who are trying to decide what their next step, make a decision one way or the other. And I honestly don't know which way they're going to go after hearing all of this, but at least you made the decision process easier.
Well, you helped answer a lot of questions and a lot of unknowns if you don't have someone who's gone through this.
That's right.
You know?
Right.
I think we'll title this episode, Right Swipe Those Shirtless Selfies. And I know you guys will all endorse that. Thank you so much for being a part of the Untoxicated podcast. If you value what you heard today, listener, please make a Venmo donation to @MattSalis, that's SALIS, with 1412 is the last 4 digits of my phone number. Thank you for listening to the Untoxicated podcast. You've got this, and we've got you. Okay.